Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. My name is Scotty McCoy, and I have an alumni from both Friday the 13th and Days of Our Lives on the phone. She played Jane in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, and Isabella Black on Days of Our Lives. Her name is Staci Greason. Hi Staci, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considering. I'm hunkered down like everybody else.
Not a problem. I figured having this podcast would be a good way to give some people entertainment while they're all, bogged down in their homes.
Yeah.
So as I was talking to you earlier before we started recording, there's two parts that I'm going to be asking. The first part will be on Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, with 9 questions, and the other part has 9 questions on your tenure with Days of Our Lives. Alrighty.
Right, and I said, let's see how much I can remember. But
So,
I'll try my best.
not a problem. So the first question really has nothing to do with Friday the 13th or Days. It's how did you get your start into acting?
Well, I started acting in high school plays, and then I moved out to Los Angeles to be an actress, and I moved in with my college roommate, and we did the, crazy waiting tables, tons of different jobs, going on auditions. And I worked for a wonderful agent named Irvin Arthur. He discovered Ellen DeGeneres. In fact, I got to go with her to her first Tonight Show appearance.
Awesome.
And I worked for Irvin Arthur. He had, oh my goodness, he discovered so many comedians. He was fantastic. And we submitted the young girls who worked for him. We would submit ourselves through the breakdowns for acting roles without telling Irvin, and that's how I got. And then I moved so then I started going on a lot of auditions, and then I started working for a publicist at the Brokaw Company and doing tour press and still submitting myself through them. And I got a screen test for the soap opera Santa Barbara.
Awesome.
And I didn't get that role, but I guess an executive producer of Days of Our Lives saw the screen test or something, and Shelley Curtis, and she brought me in to audition for a role on Days of Our Lives. And I wound up screen testing, trying to remember, I think over the course of 2 years, I screen tested for 5 different parts on Days of Our Lives.
Wow. What parts did you audition for?
I can't even remember the names. I can't remember the names of the roles. I really can't.
No problem.
I wish I could. And then I was told that the network didn't think I was pretty enough to be on a soap opera, but Shelley Curtis really liked me, and so she gave me a recurring role, and she said, you have a few weeks to prove to the network that you can be on this show, and so I did, and yeah, it was most fortuitous. I think it's so important to have people in your corner.
Right.
She was really wonderful, as were many of the writers and actors on that show. And the casting director, Doris Saba, was delightful.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So
it was a good experience.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw out a bonus question since you mentioned Ellen DeGeneres. How is she as a person? Is she a nice person? Anything about her?
She was great.
Awesome.
That was a million years ago. We were all so young, and it was so exciting. I just went with another assistant, and we sat in the Blue Room, and back then it was Johnny Carson, which is a really big deal. And we were all so nervous for her to go out and do her stand-up. And in those days, when you were finished with your routine, if Johnny called you over, then you had a career.
Nice.
And so we were all waiting, when she finished her routine, and he said, come on over here. And we were all crying and so excited for her. So.
Awesome. She seems like an amazing person. She really... But speaking of your death scene, what was it like filming that? Was it like all emotional, or what was going on
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that was really hard because I loved working with Drake so much. And they were doing such good writing. And the crew on Days of Our Lives are just fantastic. And I had so many friends on that show. And I was young, and so I wanted to go on and, pursue writing and what else is out there. I wanted to go on. I was thinking maybe I didn't want to be an actor anymore. But as we were nearing, so I didn't want to sign another contract. I wanted to go. So I was fortunate they gave me all this beautiful writing, and they gave a beautiful story to that character.
Right.
so it was something I could sink my chops into. But definitely shooting that stuff was very bittersweet because as it was happening, I think I started realizing, oh, this is really happening. I'm leaving this whole family. And because it's a family, when you work with people like that, it's a family.
Yeah.
And I cried and so those tears were real. Drake and we cried really hard. And I didn't think it would be so hard leaving. But it was very hard. It took me a long time to get over not being there.
Right.
I really, really missed it.
Right. So I'm assuming
that was unexpected. I had thought, I'm moving on to my new journey. And then it was hard to figure out what's my new journey when I've already had this kind of success in my mid-20s. It was hard to sort of navigate.
He plays Victor Kiriakis. He was he's very funny on set with his quipped one-liners. Is he like that in real life?
Yes.
I had to ask.
He's like that in real life. He's like that in real life, and he's also like a dad in real life.
Awesome.
So he would say we would be working on our lines, because actors work together in their dressing rooms, running their lines and stuff. And he would say, honey, what are you doing with your money? You're not always going to be making this kind of money. And I would say, oh, because I'm this like wide-eyed child. I'm like, I have a savings account, Mr. Aniston. And he was like, you need to buy a house and build a guest house in the back for the lean years. It was very practical. Like he wanted to caretake.
Right.
Yeah.
Was Jennifer Aniston ever on set?
I only saw her a couple times when she would come to visit her dad. And
You there?
Maybe she'd just come. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we cut out for a little bit there.
So I remember her coming to visit him on set, and she must have only been 17, maybe.
Oh, wow.
And she was sitting on a set of suitcases, or maybe she'd just come from a vacation, or she'd come to visit him. And she had very dark hair. She was young. And I remember Stephen Nichols came in the dressing room, and he said, that girl out there is going to be a star, mark my words. And I was like, that teenager out there, how did he know? But he knew.
Yes, he obviously did. So switching now to Friday the 13th, Part 7. So do you remember what your audition was like for the film?
I do.
Awesome.
So that was my first real job. Well, my first job, though, was in a horror film that was never released, or maybe it was just released now, called Terror Night.
Okay.
And it's one of the worst horror films ever made. It's so fun. It's so terrible. I just bought a copy so my husband could watch it, and he was like, so I was the lead in that, in Terror Night, and that's how I met my friend William Butler.
Right.
So Billy was doing Friday the 13th Part 7, and he called me, and he said, my friend John Beekler is directing this. He's a really nice guy. You should come down and audition for the role of my girlfriend. And I was so excited. Billy is a very generous person. Okay. And he's really great with all his actor friends. And he's always trying to get people work, and he's a super good guy. Okay. And so I drove out to wherever they were doing pre-production, deep out in the San Fernando Valley. And I auditioned with John Beekler, and I got the job. And the cast director, too, and I'm just losing his name. Anthony.
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It's Lady Menopause. It's not him. It's me. I can't remember. I just blank. It'll come back to me. So the cast director was so great. And maybe I auditioned for casting first, and then I went and met John, one way or the other. Right. But anyhow, I was so excited because suddenly I was getting flown first class to Mobile, Alabama, and shooting a movie with my friend Bill Butler. And, Billy really taught me how to act in horror films.
Right.
I really watched him and took his lead. And just like Drake taught me how to be, how to kiss on screen for Days of Our Lives, Right. He'd be like, no, turn this way, move your hair. Because it's very technical. It's not sexy. It's totally technical.
Right.
So Friday the 13th was a lot of fun because it was my first job, and it was my first paycheck that said Paramount Pictures on it, and I couldn't believe it was happening.
That's amazing. So how was your death scene film?
And I do have to say one thing, if I could say one thing.
Not a problem.
Horror horror fans are the best.
That is very true. That is very
It's
true.
true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of Kane Hodder, how was it like working with him?
He's a great guy. He's just a big, loving, strong, funny. He's got a great sense of humor. Such a nice guy. And
Awesome.
even when we all saw each other last year at John Buechler's memorial, everybody's just the same. He's still just like a big, loving guy.
Nice. It's funny because I heard a story about Kane Hodder when he was on set filming Friday the 13th Part 7. He was in full costume, and a kid ended up, I guess, going through the woods, and he's like, "Hey, you're Jason Voorhees. Are you filming that Friday the 13th movie that I heard that they're filming around here?" And he looks at him. He just stares down at him and everything. Full costume. Very intimidating, I could imagine, for a little kid. And he just kind of lunged at him, and the kid just ran away, and he tripped over a log, and he kept running, got back up and kept running.
I don't know. I never heard that story.
I read about it on IMDb. I don't know. Go ahead.
He's a very funny guy, so that sounds like something he would do. Yeah.
I could believe he would do that because I heard a lot of stories of him like doing like pranks and stuff like that in costume. So I can kind of picture him doing that. It was on IMDb. That seems more reliable of a source than if it was on Wikipedia. So I wouldn't take it as much with a grain of salt. So I could believe it happening.
Yeah, it sounds like something that he would do.
Awesome. I tried to interview him, but he's way too busy. So it's like hard to meet his schedule. So. Go ahead. Yep. The last question I got for you is, do you have any future projects or anything else that you would like to promote to our listeners?
Sure. Well, I'm finishing my literary agent is out there right now pitching my fourth novel, which is called Love and Other Calamities.
Awesome.
About three ex-girlfriends who unite to take down their bad ex-musician boyfriend. And then I'm finishing a rewrite on a novel called, I just changed the title, that's why I spaced out. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Called Killing All the Actors. And Killing All the Actors, Killing All the Actors is about two people who join a survivalist cult in the desert called Take Back America.
Okay.
And I have a screenplay out there that just won some awards called Treed, about a housewife who climbs a tree by the mall and lives in it.
Nice.
And it's based on my third novel, The Last Great American Housewife. So I have a lot of writing that's out there right now being pitched, so hopefully something will get sold.
Awesome.
It's an interesting time. Nobody really knows what is next, so we just take it one day at a time, right?
Yep, exactly. One day at a time, and I thank you so much for making time for this interview. It was an honor interviewing you, not just as a fan, but as a friend as well and a fellow actor. It's amazing to get the insight of your success of Days of Our Lives and on Friday the 13th, and I really thank you for your time, and I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you for thinking of me, and I just want to say, don't give up.
Thank you.
That's the key.
Exactly.
The only key in life is don't give up.
Exactly. You stay safe, and
okay, you too.
And everybody can check out Staci Greason's, all of her novels, and you can check her out on IMDb as well for any future projects that she were to have in the works that were to be updated on there as well. And I thank you, Staci.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Hang in there.
Yep, you too.